Hello and welcome back to the PCC podcast. I am super excited to be chatting with y'all today about the power of commitment. Really, really excited. This was an episode that was honestly a topic that's on my heart to share from a really personal kind of lens. So, a lot of times, I don't know about you, but maybe this is just something that I project, but I feel like when I see an episode like this, I would think like, "Oh, is this just about like committing to your program or whatever?" It really isn't. It really, really isn't. This is about committing to yourself, backed by my own personal story. Okay. And so I'm going to get really real and vulnerable with you guys about what I have been working on, what I have been going through, because I had somebody the other day, I forget who it was, but somebody the other day was so sweet. And she told me, Marissa, I love that you share, hey, this is what I'm going through. Like, I'm just going to be real with you. These are the struggles that I have. And here's what I'm doing to get through it. Right. And so I wanted to take that energy into this podcast today because at the end of the day, we're connected by our humanity, the fact that none of us are perfect. And so I'm going to walk you through some things that I have been struggling with and how the power of commitment has helped me bring myself out of that. Okay. So just to preface, right? And this is actually a little inspiration from a podcast that I listened to from Layla Hormozi, who is a wonderful, wonderful business leader, mentor. She is really, really popular in the entrepreneurial space. And I was listening to one of her podcasts, and she was talking about how life has been hard lately. And she made a podcast while she's in it rather than being out of it and like it's over and I'm reflecting on it, like hiding until it's done. So I decided to do the same thing because I really respected that and I wanted to pay that forward. So what I've been in lately is, and I haven't really been shy about this part of like the hormonal side. So back in January, I really started sharing my journey about cortisol dysregulation, estrogen dominance, and my overall hormonal imbalances that were caused by chronic stress. But what I haven't really shared yet is kind of I don't want to say side effects of that, but how that really transpired into other areas of my life. Okay. So when you have dysregulated hormones, particularly when your body's kind of burnt out, it's been producing too much cortisol for too long, it can a lot of times impact things like your brain chemistry, your motivation, your drive, your honestly like level of care for things like your apathy levels. And so that is something that's been really, really real for me. So I've been really transparent in sharing the impacts of all of the hormonal imbalances on my health. So it was really impacting acne around my face. It was impacting my mood, my energy, brain fog all day long. I was just running on caffeine and fumes, basically. I would get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night because I thought, oh, I'll just sleep more. It'll make it better. My body will recover. And I just could not get enough. And I was really finding myself in some lapses in consistency with my own fitness and health. I wasn't going outside enough. And really, the biggest kicker was it really brought me to what I am blessed enough to say is my first real run-in with mental health struggles in my entire life because it did impact my brain chemistry and I actually have the data in my Dutch test to show that. So just FYI, like Dutch test is so cool. It can tell you insights to your gut health, to your mental health. It is so comprehensive. But yeah, physiologically, my body was not producing, my brain was not producing enough dopamine, enough excitatory neurotransmitters that really promote waking and alertness. And so my body's kind of been running on E. And how that showed up for me was honestly like the closest thing to depressive like symptoms that I have ever experienced. Lots of apathy, lots of just struggling to get myself to do the basics, struggling with feeling like if I had a call full of calendars that day, I would look at it like a burden instead of a blessing. Feeling really overwhelmed at the smallest thing going wrong, mental breakdowns left and right. I've definitely cried in the past 6 months more than I ever have. And I share that to just share that, even as a fitness coach, I'm human, I'm vulnerable to these things. But here's what I did about it, right? And so I'm feeling better at this very moment and this week. But definitely I'm still having my ups and downs, and I'm still coming out of this, right? I'm still in it. And I wanted to share my perspective while I'm in it, because maybe I'll be able to share like a recap after we're through the storm and have another perspective. But it'll be interesting for me to just go back on this and see how my perspective has shifted. But what I was able to do was really start to get the ball rolling on some momentum to get out of the really big part of the rut. And the power of commitment is what I came up with as the title of this podcast to really talk about that. So what I mean by that is there were a lot of things like objectively that were just really stagnant. And I'm really blessed to say that like my life didn't crumble under me while I've been going through this. I've been able to like maintain the business. While it's not in the state that I want it to be in, it has been maintained, and I'm so lucky and grateful for that. I have maintained generally my physical health, my weight, etc. Maintained my relationships, etc. So thankfully, yeah, my life didn't crumble as I went through this, but I was really stagnant. Like there were some issues in the business, like that just nothing was moving forward, no matter how many different things that we were trying, and all of the tools that I had tried to fix the issue, get to the constraint, and really unlock like the next level for our business. I was just hitting my head against the wall. And I had been paying attention to and looking at mentorship, guidance, support, because I know as a fitness coach, knowing that I do this for a living, that in the same way, when you are stuck in your health and fitness journey, you're trying all the things you've tried before, nothing's working, you keep hitting a wall, and you're so frustrated, and you're wondering, like really the dialogue for me was like, maybe this is it. Like maybe I'm just capped here. Maybe I'm not meant for more. Maybe it's not going to get better. And a lot of my negative thoughts were feeding into this, and I was just living in a victim mentality most of the time. And anyone on my team, anyone you talk to, they'd be like, I had no idea, because I'm so good at hiding it, and I need to get better at being transparent about that. But yeah, so like a lot of that. And so I had had a couple calls with a couple different mentors, and I was just like sitting on the fence, doubting myself there. In addition, I also was kind of wishy-washy around my faith. So my faith is something that I've become a little bit more vocal about, and you don't have to subscribe to the same belief system as me. But I think the gist of it was I was committing to some daily habits around my faith, but other things I didn't want to commit to. For example, I wanted to read my Bible and learn how to pray and go to church, but I didn't want to give to the church. I didn't want to tithe or put any money down, right? Because I was like, oh, we don't have that, it'll be fine. I can just pick the rules I want to follow. And then lastly, I was really wavering in consistency in my own fitness goals, right? I was going to the gym a couple times per week, getting all my steps in, sleeping, doing my routines, but consistency in like really moving the needle forward on anything, not there. And I was still like the symptoms of the bigger problems like estrogen dominance had been getting better, but they were at a bit of a standstill. And so the thing that I had to learn that was really tough was the problem with waiting until I felt ready is that you never do. And the ironic thing is when you keep waiting, you feel less and less ready and less capable the longer that you wait, because the self-doubt spirals get worse. Every day that you wait is basically more proof under your belt that nothing will change, because when nothing changes, nothing changes when you are wavering in your own back and forth. And eventually I had enough mental breakdowns and enough come to Jesus moments, literally and figuratively, that I knew that something had to change, even if it meant a really scary risk. And so for me, the first step that we took was in mentorship. So I did commit to a mentorship, a year-long commitment that I knew would probably help me. But the thing that was holding me back the whole time was like, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't follow through? What if I can't, live up to everything that I'm supposed to do, because I'm so tired all the time. And like, I just don't have any trust with myself. And Again, ironically, not taking any action was making things worse for myself. And it was all just a reflection of the lack of trust that I had with myself, because I knew I wasn't taking care of the business in the exact ways that it needed. But I was so comfortable in my routines and the way that I had learned how to do things and the way I had just been doing things, that I was like, I don't know how it can get any better than this. But I was so limited in my perspective. Okay, so that's one. And I'll expand on how that really spiraled and catapulted, but I'll just do a quick jump back to faith here. I continued committing to those daily habits, but we also decided to commit fully to those things that we were kind of picking to not to not listen to. So we gave some money to a church that we know and trust the people in, and took that step there, and are going to continue to do that. And it was scary, yes, but it's an act of faith of that's going to come around, right? And God's going to provide, and we're going to be okay. And so with the mentorship, the funniest thing is like, once you took that step, it's like everything I needed came from that, because I knew that these were the people that I wanted to work with, the environment that I wanted to be in, but I was just so untrusting of myself. And I wanted to project it on them. I wanted to say, "Oh, your program's just not right for me." But I knew it was my own lack of trust with myself. And so as soon as I got in there, the first couple of things that they do is really get you dialed in on your self-leadership. So I'm going to have a whole podcast episode on this next, but we're doing what's called a dopamine detox, which is honestly a pretty strict protocol to help with mental clarity and productivity. But I am loving it. I'm feeling so much better. I'm feeling so much more in touch with myself. There's been a number of visualizations, of self-reflective exercises, of vision work that is really just getting me back in tune and back in touch with myself, why I love doing this in the first place. Completely revamping my entire calendar and time blocking, following through with accountability for my big 3 items for the day to move the needle forward on the business's goals, and so many things that I didn't realize that I needed, all because I took the risk, right? And because I finally just committed to myself in the financial sense of mentorship, but then what it poured back into me was so much more. And I can already say it has been worth every single penny, because I'm finally feeling like myself again. Okay. And so I think a lot of times we have this gut feeling, we know we should move in a certain direction, but we're just overcome by fear, right? And I was there. I was so there. And I'm really, really glad that I overcame it, because, and I'll explain this more in episode 88 as I release the next one, but I truly do feel so much more like myself. I truly feel like I'm no longer questioning if I am capable, because in all reality, the first step, the commitment of putting the money down, committing to the thing, that was the biggest action that is my anchor now, right? And so it's often the hardest part to take that first step. Once you have that, you can lean on the anchor, right? And for me, a financial commitment is very like binding and motivating, where I use that as my anchor of I paid the money, so I am committed. I signed the contract, so I am committed. So now, like, I know that I have taken the step. I can anchor in, I've taken that step. I just need to take one more. And I just need to take one more. And holding myself to those little things and anchoring back to, I already made it through the hardest part of getting myself out of the rut and getting the support. So I hope that this helps someone who is stuck in the wavering, in the back and forth, in the self-doubt, in the shame spirals, in the mental breakdowns, whatever it is that you are really stuck in. I just want you to know that I have been there. And that is what, I mean, that's honestly my mission of what I hope to do for women moving forward. I just feel like, whenever I go through something really hard, the question that you don't want to ask yourself, but that you really should, is what is good about this situation? And how can you really take away some good from it? And I think one of the things that I really am taking away from the situation is I have a lot more empathy now for those pits of despair, for being stuck in a victim mentality. But I also just have so much more belief in the fact that like just taking that first step can literally change everything. And I have so much more empathy for the fact that like I now see how that panned out in so many of our clients' lives, like at a deeper level than I ever understood, of like just that saying yes was the spark that carried everything else through. So again, I hope that this helps you get unstuck, stop wavering, take the action that your gut is telling you to take. And remember that taking that first step is really the hardest part. And then you can anchor yourself from there. So that is that. Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully you related or gained something from this episode. And I will look forward to the next one, or where we're going to be talking about exactly the protocols I'm taking myself for productivity. I think it'll be really helpful for you if you need some mental clarity and you need to clear some clutter out of your mind. Okay. Talk soon. See you guys here on the next one.